as we can possibly be at this stage, and what we're hoping to do and will do is reach out further, become more representative, get more grassroots organizations involved, and mobilize very strongly towards this event in Durban, the UNFCCC COP17. We're also starting to link across Africa and understand that we're very much in the early stages, but we're organizing fast and we're organizing sharply. Linking internationally and linking across Africa through our various committee members, through the very many people who form part of our coalition or our group, and expanding out so that this does become an international event, so that we are hosts to what is effectively an international process that involves South Africa. I think it's important to say that we understand that Durban is one step in a very large process. We're hoping it's going to be a very explosive step on the way to Rio, as part of the Cochabamba movement, as part of many other struggles and movements. I speak here in my personal capacity, not as the committee. There are 4 committee members present at the World Social Forum, and we amongst us very much like the idea of linking the struggles. And there are ideas floating around about linking Cochabamba to Rio, to Durban. And we support this. We think that to be able to get to where we want to go, to our social movements, it is very critical that we do start pooling resources and ideas and campaigns, so that we're not working in isolation, in small groups, so that we do become a part of a very active, very strong international movement that is working under or with some coalition. I'd like to say just finally that it is really important for us who will be going back to our committee, to our organizations, to our communities. It's very important that we do link with the struggles on the ground. We do link with grassroots organizations, that we take our mandate from the people who are most affected, who are most vulnerable, that we work for the people, and that we take those struggles to our committees, to processes like we have here, and to the international meetings. Thank you.
Well, now I'm changing my hat. I'm just trying to bring here for you that the Brazilian social movements, unions, NGOs, on all levels, environmentalists, social NGOs, are organized or are already organized in a facilitating committee where we have already a coordination, and we are in a very starting process of build up all the process, looking at Rio plus 20. We think that we need to be engaged in different networks around the world, and we need to unite our agendas between Rio plus 20, COP15 and G20. We think that we want to reorganize our field, not only in Brazil but in Latin America, and we want to establish dialogue, connection, or something that come together with us in order to build up information, circulation of information, communication, education, and a very strong mobilization toward Rio de Janeiro. We would like to have millions of people on Rio during the Rio Plus 20. We would like also to organize and see in our process with the social movements, NGOs, we would like to have a pluralistic environment where all the different levels of our political grade will be there represented, but we are fit, we are part of a very important political principles based on the letter from Belém. Is a political position of the social movements in Brazil, where we've been working very hard since, I don't know, but probably since the last World Social Forum in Belém. And we have very strong demands and criticism about the system and the way how all these institutions and are moving, and we are, I will not say what we are against, because I think we are almost in the same, we defend the same scale of ideas. But what we want, and we think that politically is very, very important, is to unite agendas, is to move very in a parallel movement, maybe doing manifestation in different parts of the world, walking into Rio de Janeiro. That's what we are trying to establish in our process. We are, of course, in a starting point, and we would like to see from this assembly something more concrete decisions in order to establish maybe an international committee and something that can make us walk together into the future. Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Pat Muni, and he's from Etc. Group. Pat will also address us on some of these issues.
We must begin by knowing where we stand now, where we are at this moment as we work toward Rio plus 20. Where we stand is in the middle of a disaster. Copenhagen was a tragedy, but Cancun was treason. In Cancun, our governments were traitors to our planet and to our people. The decision they made, with the exception of one country, was treason to the planet. We've got now 15 months in which we can try to get ourselves through perhaps one of the most dangerous times in history. In the next 15 months, as we work our way from this place to Durban, and from Durban on to Rio, we have 15 months in which we can stop some terribly bad things from happening. We have a chance to do something which, in my history, my very long white-haired experience in international negotiations, tells me is the best chance we've had to do something positive in a very, very long time. So while we stand at the point of tragedy and treason, there are some reason to have hope that things can be much better if we work together in the next 15 months. Between now and Rio plus 20, we must do several things. We must be in the streets, we must be in their faces. At every point along the way, they must know that we know what they are doing. We must also, in the next 15 months, be in their rooms, in their negotiations, in all of the discussions, and we must be setting the agenda of what they have to talk about. And uniquely, very uniquely, in the history of United Nations negotiations, they don't have a clear agenda. They don't quite know what they want. They don't know what they mean by green economies. They don't know quite what they mean by new forms of green governance. We have some chance to define what that is and to make our own voices heard clearly. We need the help of everybody in South Africa to make Durban as clear a battle as possible. After South Africa, we desperately need to have the support of our friends in Brazil and all of Latin America to organize social forums, to organize protests, in whether it's Porto Alegre or Rio or in both places, to make our voice as loud as possible. We need especially to ask our friends in Bolivia to do what they did last year, which was so important. We need to ask Bolivia very clearly to help us to organize a second People's Summit, a second real People's Summit that allows us to go to march literally from Bolivia to Rio. Whether it's Cochabamba or Santa Cruz, I don't care, but we need to have a second People's Summit. We need to, here in this social forum, make it absolutely clear to those who don't understand what a treason it was last year in Cancun. We must pronounce clearly to everybody that was a failure, that was a dishonest treachery. That's what we got to do. The last thing we have to say clearly is that we're living from, and we're talking about Rio plus 20, but what happened 20 years ago? 20 years ago, it was called an Earth Summit. What's happening next year, what they propose to do, is not to have an Earth Summit, but an Earth grab. They plan to, as they've grabbed the land, they plan to grab the biomass of the planet, they plan to grab the control of the stratospheres through geoengineering, through biomass control, and they must be stopped in doing that. Thank you.